Shalom Aleichem, and a good morning to everyone. A Freilich Chanukah, Chevra online, and I just want the deepest Hakar Satov. I'm standing in front of here. Yes, we have people in the Beis HaMedrash here, Baruch Hashem, and I'm speaking as well to the Chevra online, and I get responses from people, and I'm Baruch Hashem. I've never got in videos, Baruch Hashem, we have this YouTube and it's sent out, and I never got such nice responses. Not many criticisms, but if somebody wants to critique in a healthy way to make things better, I believe I know where the knetches need to be made. Whether we make changes on that, I'm not sure yet. But for sure, I always want to learn and I always want to grow and better this relationship, which again is a sort of hybrid relationship. And I just want to share that. Takar Satov, and thank you. As well, I just want to wish everyone a Freilich Chanukah, a very, very special Mesugel time. And hopefully we will speak for a few moments on that as we go weiter. So where are we? Where are we up to? Just want to start off with change and transitioning, Chevra. Change and transitioning. Change, as we have said, we have moved from a world which was somewhere else. It was outside, right now, outside of the Beis HaMedrash. If you are listening to this online, you were doing something else. And then we've transitioned here. So for sure, people in person, we've transitioned from the outside to a makom, to a place. And it could be you are still doing something else online. It could be you're listening to this while you're running. It could be you're listening to this while you're working. It could be you're listening to this while you are washing the dishes, whatever it may be. And Baruch Hashem, it's all good. It's all good. And take note, just wherever you are and whatever you are doing, change and transitioning. Come here, Daat Tachton Chitzoni. Daat Tachton Chitzoni is what? Just spend a moment and look around. Spend a moment. I see sunshine walking into the Beis HaMedrash now. Spend a moment, just look around. See the space and the place you are in. And see the beautiful people you are with. I'm with wonderful people right now. Chazdei Hashem. And just to transition and recognize the space. Daat Tachton Chitzoni. Listening to the louder sounds and the quieter sounds. And again, may sound a little bit odd if we have not done this before, but it's something which is very real and very important to cultivating what we call tikkun hamidos, the human condition. Thank you. And as well, Daat Tachton Penimi is just take note. Where am I in my body right now? Where am I in my body right now? Just how does my body feel right now? What feelings am I feeling right now? Just to ask and observe. And what thoughts am I observing right now? What imagery, if anything, is coming up? What sounds, if anything, is coming up? Just become aware of it. And this nakuda of awareness on whatever level is so important for us. Because when we learn halacha, halacha is asking of us, inviting us to become aware of our surroundings. And it's to become aware of our internal world. Because as we keep halacha, yesterday we were going through a piece in a yeshiva of Rabbi Nachman. And just to touch upon this, because it's so relevant, and definitely relevant to our world of Hanukkah. Where Rabbi Nachman speaks about Tinyana base. And I'm not going into it now, but just to pick up on an akuda which is very relevant here. And that is, when we're speaking about halacha, when we're speaking about the world of halacha and the world of Chanukah, so we know Yemei Chanukah Heim, Yemei Haida, these are days of gratitude. And Rabbi Nachman goes through a whole nakuda here of Shashuim Olam Haba. And if you look at the root of this word shashua, it means playfulness, it means delight. The first time actually it's used is in Chumash, in Bereshis, 4th chapter, 4th pasuk, with Cain and Hevel. And shashua means to turn. Shashua means to turn here and to turn there. It's speaking in context about the korban, about the korbanos. Hashem took one of the brothers' korban. So Nakud of shashua is as well Ratzav V'Shov. Ratzav V'Shov, running and returning. And the Nakuda of Shashua in terms of turning here and turning there, Ratzav V'Shov, is this Nakuda of Ruach and Nefesh. As we've said, we're constantly relating to our Nefesh and our Ruach and our Neshama. We're never still. We're never static. There's a dynamic movement. And Rabbi Nachman in Beis goes on to say how this Nakuda of Shashuim and this nakuda that Rabbi Nachman's speaking about is a nakuda of halacha as well. Because that's what halacha does. Halacha trains us. It trains us to be present, to be centered, and to come outside and then come inside. Come outside, come inside. And that's the inyan of Ratzav V'Shov. And that's what halacha does. Halacha guides me. Halacha guides me and gives me the availability when done properly. Daat Tachton Chitzoni, Daat Tachton Penimi, Daat Neshama. What does Hashem want from me in the present moment? But if I'm not aware of the present moment, I can't work out what the Creator wants from me. So these are days of Chanukah. Chanukah, we rest here in the present moment. We come into a state of Daat Tachton Chitzoni, Daat Tachton Penimi. And what I want to do is build a relationship. I want to build a relationship with what's going on. In exile, there's such a fear that because of all the traumas that are going on, we come in and we get stuck inside and inside up in the head. We become very cerebral. Or we get stuck in the gut. And gut is the second triad of spheres. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yisod. We get stuck in our emotions, the gut. Chabad, Chagat, Nehim. We get stuck in our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. We get stuck in the gut. And typically, people feel a lot of shame and guilt. A nakuda of shame is a nakuda of shem. A person typically feels shame when they are believing in themselves they can live for something much higher than themselves and they don't meet it. So when's shame felt? When you feel, I'm not fulfilling my potential. I can live for something so much more. And when we don't experience that, I'm not living for the shem. Then what happens? I feel shame. I undercut myself. And in exile, we want really to understand that we are agents of light. We really are agents of light, agents of hope. And this nakuda is the conversation that we're having. And when we look at the menorah, when we look at the candles are a little flicker of hope in the exile. And we need to be re-educated, and we want to be re-educated into what it is to be a Tzelem Elokim, to live better, to live healthier. And chevra, we can, and we should want this. We should want to want this. And this nakuda is an important nakuda. And Akar Satov, change and transitioning, Akar Satov, thank you to the anonymous donor who sponsored this whole, this whole set of shiurim and Be'ezras Hashem Shetivne, Bais, Neman, B'Yisrael Mamash. And it's good, Chazdei Hashem. So what we shared last week as an introduction, and we'll just touch upon it for a moment, what we shared last week as an introduction as we go into this is that we want to become Yashar. Yashar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yashar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creations are Yashar. And we want to be Adam Yashar. And what's Yashar? Straight, aligned. So all of the Lashonos of Aveira are bent out of shape. Aveira means to avor, to go off the path. Avon, bent out of shape. Chet, missing the mark. In Lashon HaKodesh we have being on track or being off track. That's what we have in Lashon HaKodesh, being on track or off track. The more that we are on track, the more we are aligned. The Naran, the Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh are aligned. When the Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh is aligned, we could then receive Hashem's light, the Or Ein Sof. The Or Ein Sof can come in through the Neshama, into the Nefesh, and then out through the Ruach. Pardon?
Is it black and white on or off?
No. Because when we're dealing with the nefesh, it is not black and white. But let's just speak this out, what we spoke out last week, and then we'll take questions. Just a very short recap on the Hagdama as we go into this next piece. So what we said is there's a neshama. The Ein Sof comes into the neshama. Then the neshama, there is the opportunity that the neshama light comes down thereafter in a makulkal way. That's bracha and klala, as we spoke about. Bracha and klala. What's klala? Curse. Reframed bracha. Unklus. So that's found in Parashas Re'eh. Bracha and klala. Just the makor. So the Or Ein Sof comes down. Das bridges the neshama and the ruach. remember, take into consideration that you have the 10 spheres that work with the soul parts. So here we have Chochmah, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes. Tiferes bridges Ruach and Nefesh. Tiferes is Hasaga. We're not going into that now, but just to hear this language. Then we have Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes, which are in Nefesh. So, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and then Malchus. So the Or Ein Sof comes in to the Neshama. The more we are Balei Das, the more we are conscious. And as we mentioned, that what does Das do? Das is a negotiator between allowing the light down from and through Neshama into the Nefesh. So what happens, Das and Ruach, which are more cognitive, conscious part of Adam, allows this light through depending on our level of consciousness. And then the more we work on our Nefesh, the more we refine our Hirhurim Regesh Rikshe Gufani, the Midos Klaliyos. The more we refine our Midos, Tikkun HaMidos. What are the Midos? The Midos are the Levushim, Malbush. The Midos are the Levushim. So the way I interact with the world is from my body, and slightly behind that is all my Midos. So the more I'm Mataher and Makadish my Midos expression, the Malchus, where the Malchus is this very interesting, a lot to talk about. Again, each of these hours within itself, but the Malchus is where the inside world and the outside world touch. That's the Malchus. That's where that interaction happens. And again, we are freeze-framing a moving process. So the neshama allows the light in, if we allow it in, depending on the quality of our das, comes in and through the ruach and the nefesh. There are other nakudas at play. So either we will say das or nefesh. We'll interchange das and ruach. We'll interchange das and ruach because ruach is the more cognitive. So we may say, if we're not speaking about the spheres, the neshama receives the light. The quality of the ruach is what then will allow the light of the ruach to come down into the nefesh. Naran. Now when we're speaking about this model, first of all, you could see with Chanukah. Chanukah is a reminder of the Tzelem Elokim. Chanukah is a reminder of the Tzelem Elokim, that the light comes down and the or, the neshama comes down into the wick. The wick is needed. Is it down, up, or up, down? That's a whole question within itself. But you have the light. The light is that you're Megala Hashem's light in through what you're doing. But without the wick and without the oil and without the vessel to hold it, nothing works. You can't have the ner without the wick. You can't have the wick without the oil, and you can't have the oil without the kli. So you can't have the neshama without the ruach, and you can't have the ruach without the nefesh. It doesn't work like that. You have to have an integration. You have to have it all together, and that's why in the derech of avodah that we've been sharing is that you have physical and mental health. Physical and mental health, because without the physical health and without the mental health, you can't makabel the or in a healthy way. You can't express the or in a healthy way. If a person's consciousness is trapped within the nefesh, they're stuck. They're stuck. We want to have the ability to be Ratzav V'Shav. We want to have that availability to have Shashuei, which Rabbi Nachman says, Olam Haba, and this Nukud of Olam Haba Tinyana base, this Nukud of Olam Haba is a state. It's a state of consciousness. Again, lots and lots and lots of Makaris in a kuntras called Aliyas and Yurid Sadaris, where we define Aliyas and Yurid Sadaris and how it affects us. There's lots of Makaris to show, spanning Nigla, Nista, Halacha, spanning a lot of different generations. That Olam Haba is as well as state. It's a state of being. It's a state. Olam Haba is here now. People, again, because of... It's a state of consciousness. According to many, many different Makaris, it's a state of consciousness. And we I remember I heard in the name of Rabbi Rafal Dabush, one of my wife's great-great-grandfather, he would say, people, because we're in the physical world, we speak about Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, we speak about all of these different places, but it's here now. It's here now. A language that we may use is it's a parallel world. It's a parallel world in existence now. That's what we may say. That it's a parallel world. You know the Rav? Yeah? Yeah. So this is a very, very important nakuda to take into consideration as we go weiter. Because it's very easy to miss. And what we want to get, and it's subtle, and we have to repeat it time and time again, you are the Kli. You are the Kli. You are the Kli. You. The whole you. The whole you. You are the vessel that's shining out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's true to say, I serve Hashem. I'm serving Hashem. And what we want to understand is the time where this is emphasized is in Tefillah. In Tefillah, Halacha L'maisa, I stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the halachas of Shemona Esrei, Tzadi Ches, when we're speaking Tzadi Aleph in Shulchan Aruch, Tzadi Aleph, Tzadi Ches. Okay, either Tzadi Aleph or Tzadi Ches. What is it, Reb Shalom Shachna? It's okay, not good. Sorry, Mechila. Sorry. So in the halachas of Shulchan Aruch, we speak about how we imagine Hashem in front of us. Thank you. We imagine Hashem in front of us. When Hashem is in front of us, I'm serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But then when I've received my mission statement, I then become the Kli to Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. I become the vessel. This is one of the nukudas of the Baal Shem Tov. One of the nukudas of the Baal Shem Tov is that Baal Shem Tov articulated this. It was not just I am serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I am the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I need to ask myself, and again, Chazal, I need to ask myself, when will my Maisim be like the Maisim of the Avos? They were a Merkava, the Medrash tells us they were a Merkava. When will I metaken my Midosh? When will I come to a position where Mamash, I realize I'm the Kli to Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Or? And my Kedusha and Tahara matters. My mental and physical health matters. My emotionality matters. It matters. The level of Simcha I am on matters. And this is an Akuda. Rabbi Nachman, time and time, wanted to emphasize this. And for those who know Rabbi Nachman, the whole Akuda by Rabbi Nachman, Lakutei Maran, an odd sefer it is his Ruach HaKodesh diary. Rabbi Nachman, you pick up a Lakutei Maran, it's his Yoman Ruach HaKodesh. What is that? Is that he's showing you through experience how things work. He's showing you through experience how things work. And this is something incredibly important to remember, because as we go into this shift, if we go into the shift that we're reading today, and we miss this, we've missed something very fundamental. And again, Chevra, I know that I'm speaking ahead of the game here. There's an experience, and we may not yet be in the experiences that we are speaking about, but at least to know it exists. We do not want to set anyone up for failure. We don't want to cause any equations thinking that, if I do this and this and this and this, I'll succeed. It doesn't work like that. There's Hashem in the world, and the Nakuda is that we listen and we work on figuring out within ourselves and taking these wisdom teachings and compounding them. And every single week I'm trying to push that little bit more with enough chazara. And again, for me, if somebody, I again, like, just to iterate this, because I find that I may say something 1,000,000 times and people don't hear it. So last week someone says to me, I'm not there yet. And they got very upset. I'm not there yet. You're running ahead. And I said to them, didn't I say like 7 trillion times that we don't want to create an equation for you to fail? And they say, yeah, I didn't hear that because I was stuck in my nefesh. At least they use the language. I was stuck in my nefesh and I had this recurring thought, one minute, I'm going to miss out. You're not going to miss out on anything. It's a journey. You're not going to miss out on anything. Kapshutai. Yes?
I just asked about what you said about tefillah. I'm thinking to like the word hispalel is
Reflexive.
And is meant to be done. When you talk about when you're standing in tefillah, you're in the service of Hashem, in my mind that directs the energy outward. But I feel like in tefillah the energy is meant to be directed inward. So how does that?
So you're asking a brilliant question. So in halacha here, you got it. Tzadi ches. Thank you. Tzadi ches. So in Shulchan Aruch Tzadi ches, so it's very dangerous. It's a very, very dangerous nakuda. It's a very, very dangerous nakuda when you are told that you are the kli. You are told that you are the kli. I am the vessel that's Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That, on a certain respect, can breed a tremendous gaiva.
As a kli?
Yeah. I am it. I am it. I am the vessel. So we have to have another. So the nakuda of lehispalel, which is reflexive, it's looking inside. I'm judging myself that I'm keeping humble.
No, I don't part as being judging myself. Like, I think of the reflexive part as, like, if I say Berachos HaShachar, I'm reminding myself that I am connected to the source of Mechinus Adegaber. I am connected, like, it's reminding
So,
me,
yes.
It's not directed outward,
It's directed inwards, but from the point of inwardness that I'm connected to the source. I'm connecting to the king, the queen. I'm connecting to the Shekhinah. I am connecting. But the Shekhinah is there, the queen. I'm bowing my head that there's a Beira Olam before me, and I'm connected to that source, and now I'm representing that source in the world. I am not I am not it. I am not it. So when we come to daven, I stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and I'm reminding myself, I'm actually, on a certain respect, and there's a kuntras on Tefillah where we read this, remind me and I'll send it to you, Bli Neder, but I'm saying to my nefesh, listen to these words, let's work together. I'm massaging these words into me. So tefillah is a time for das, tefillah is a time for alignment. And I'm standing in front of whatever it is the Beira Olam means to me in my own world, and I'm saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to be your servant, and I want to take your mission statement and connect you in the source, and then massage that into me.
So wouldn't it be more accurate, I mean, the way that I'm understanding it, it's accurate to say that the purpose of tefillah is to align myself, and the result of it would be service of Hashem, but the tefillah is not service of Hashem.
The tefillah is called service, avodah. In halacha, in halacha, we can't run away from the fact that in halacha and in Tanakh we're told when we come to daven, I'm standing in front of Hashem.
Yeah.
I'm not it. I'm standing in front of. Tefillah is meant to be a humbling experience. It's meant to be a humbling experience. I am reminding myself, Hashem, you are in charge, and I'm aligning with you, if you want to use that word, but I'm not it. When I leave, when I close my siddur, and I walk out in the world, I'm the representation of that. The mashal that Rav Moshe Shapiro would give is when you stand in front of Hashem, you bow your head. When you leave, you have to stand with pride. Because you are the representation on that. In being the representation, standing with pride in everything that you do, a person can become a balgaiva. So I want to bow my head.
But any gaiva that you have then is only related to the fact that you know that you're
Only if you know. What happens if you don't know? What happens if you forget? So that's what we're saying. Is that I come before Hashem and I bow my head, and then I leave and I stand out pride. Then I come to bow my head again and I leave, I stand out pride. But if I don't remind myself that I'm that servant, I could become a balgaiva. So we're saying we're on the same page, I believe. We're on the same page. And this nakuda is a very, very, very important nakuda to contemplate, that an Adam Yashar, in the Yashrus that we're speaking about, is this relationship where I am proud, I've got a sense of pride, I live with a sense of pride, I live with a sense of self-worth, that I'm the kli that's makabel, I'm the merkava, and it's not just me, I'm connected to something.
If you're a container, the only value that you have is what you're holding.
Correct, only if you remember what you're holding. What happens if you forget what you're holding?
If you remember that you're a container, then that's going to automatically remind
And
you.
how do you do that? So how do you do that? What do you do to do that? You come to pray.
I think that the terminology of being in service of Hashem is what's
So you have to find your own language. But the nakuda is that that's what it's called. That's so you have to find your own language. But we're saying the same thing.
energy is directed inward, not outward, right?
It's the energy is connected inwards in order to remind you are not it.
You are sourced from it.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the reminder. And then when I go out, though, I forget that, so to speak, because I become it.
Oh.
I become it. That's why we...
Why would you want to forget that? I would want to remember that the whole day.
You can, but the moment you're remember what we have been saying, the moment you remember something, you're not focusing on what you're doing. This is the whole... It's a bigger conversation. But yeah, go on, sorry.
And the way not to be prideful is that I'm just a kli.
I'm a kli, I'm a vessel. Not to be prideful is to remind yourself I am a vessel. But we have tefillah, this... Remember something. Remember, Ratz of Vashov, running and returning. I can't stay in one state. This is based on a more fundamental Torah that the Gemara in Sanhedrin Tzadi Ches tells us that if I'm thinking about Mashiach is not going to come. Only when there's Hesach Hadas, when I forget about Mashiach will come. What's Pshat? You hear it's a apparent contradiction. If I don't think about Mashiach, if I experience Hesach Hadas, Mashiach will come. If I think about Mashiach is not going to come. What's Pshat? It's very, very simple. If I am not present, I'm not doing a birur in the Nitzosos Kedusha. If I'm not present with you. I'm not doing the work that needs to occur to heal the world. If I'm thinking about Mashiach, I'm over there, I'm not here.
So I'm only doing the work in Shov?
There's Ratzav Shov. I have to remember, I have to take time, that's Tefillah and living. Tefillah and Torah and living. Tefillah and Torah, Ratzav Shov. Everything is a dynamic dance. Everything is a dynamic dance. Shashua Olam Haba. It's a dynamic dance.
In the case of an example of Mashiach, why can't a person have the thought of Mashiach, wanting Mashiach, yet acting out his actions?
You can, but not at the same time. You can't hold two thoughts at the same time. So you have
one thought of I'm doing what needs to, I'm trying to do.
So again, we're getting too mebalbel here. It's very, very simple. I can have a thought at the beginning of the day. Everything that I'm doing is to Megale Kavod Shemaim, and then go about my day. That's it. It's not like it carries through. Don't have to be like OCD on this. Yeah.
Once a day.
And then moments when I pick myself up, transitioning. This is what change and transitioning is. This is what we said with kissing the mezuzah. Doesn't have to be a constant. Yes, sir.
The Olam Haba state of consciousness, is that Ratzah or Shov? You can have that while you're involved in the world?
It's both. It's both. But what starts to happen is my whole mahus is upgraded. My whole mahus, the moment I start, this is Chabad, Kuntrus HaTfilah, Kuntrus HaAvodah, where the nefesh becomes the ruach, and the ruach then comes into the neshama. There's a gestalt, there's a yichud, there's an evolution, an elevation, an expansion that occurs when we are in a state of avodah, and we remember these ideas more and more and more, because my natural state will become a higher state. My natural state becomes a higher state.
So when Malcolm talks about understanding everything that happens is for the best, is a taste of Olam Haba.
Yeah, mate. So it's the same idea. It's the same idea. In Kuntrus HaTfilah, Kuntrus HaAvodah, one of the main nakudas is that the nefesh becomes the ruach. Another way of saying this is that our lowest animal expressions become of a higher quality. So that's ultimately in Tikkun Hamidos what I want. I want my normative reactions to the mundane to be of a higher quality. So when I see food, I want my nefesh to tell me, eat b'kedusha. Eat b'kedusha. That's what ultimately I want, and we can train that. That's what we're speaking about here. First stage is to recognize that I can be aware of presence and aware. Then I can start to upgrade from this non-judgmental place. And when I start more and more to get into these states that we're speaking about and sharing upon, then it becomes more natural, becomes more tiv'i. But to remember, it's very easy, it's not black and white. We're Ratzav Shov. Shashua Olam Haba. It's not black and white. The Shashua, the Ratzav Shov, Shashua is as well, Rabbi Nachman's telling you that you can't get into the state of Olam Haba in black and white thinking, in black and white experience. It's impossible. That's not how we get into it. And it's very confusing for us, because even in education, we want things to be black and white because it feels safe, secure, and certain. But this is what we were saying in the intellect can't grasp HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No thought can grasp you. That this is the exact conversation. It's not about I'm davening and it's reflexive, and when I go out, it's Ratzav V'Shav, it's Shashua Olam Haba. And we very easily can fall into black and white thinking. And there's aspects of our life which are black and white. I'm not going to deny that, obviously there are. But majority of our life is shashui. It's this playfulness, this ratzav v'shav, this back and forth. And remember, Chevra, we are framing a set of wisdom principles to communicate them for the sake of education. But they're dynamic, they're moving. They're dynamic and they're moving.
The definition of moving?
Everything. Well, we spoke about this. Did you see Journey? You read through Journey Begins? So in Journey Begins, we speak about how the structure is a structure that is still, but the content is different. There's an neshama, ruach, and nefesh, but the content is different for each and every person. Content is different because that's the respecting of our experience. And Torah respects that. The halachas before mincha, we said, Rishus hayachid. Rishus hayachid, the world, Olam hayachid and Olam haTorah. So okay, so let's get into, let's with Hagdama, let's get into this, taking into consideration as well Chanukah Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, as we've described.
That's a question.
Okay, go on.
Davening is a reminder that we are standing before Hashem, and we are.
Davening is a reminder
service.
that we're standing before Hashem and we're on service.
We're standing before Hashem, and it's a reminder that we are the Kli. That when we walk out, we become the Kli to be Megalakus in the world.
Yes.
It's based on what you said earlier about the diagram here. It seems like the actual Hisgalas Alakus through us is only with Tikkun Midos.
Correct. And
So just because we remember
the
we're
Hisgalus,
doesn't
exactly, the Hisgalus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is through Tikkun Amidos. And that's, if you remember, we quoted the Gra. The Gra writes, and the Heilige Zayda, both Zaydas, the Gra as well as Noam Elimelech, writes that if a person's not working on their Midos, why are they alive? Lama Lochaima is the Lashonis of Evan Shlema. 100%. Because the Nefesh is the Levush. Shalem, we spoke about this. If you take the word Shalem, that when Yosef came out Shalem, and Shalem's connected to Chanukah as well, Shalem is Shein, which is Sham, Shem. We came out of Egypt because we remembered our names, but Shem is Sham. I'm being Mamshich, Hashem's light. What's language? We merited coming out because of language. Lashon is I bring the Or Ein Sof, I bring the Or into my cognitive abilities, which is Ruach. And then Malbush, Mem, Malbush, Shalem, Malbush. So we came out of Mitzrayim based on our name, based on our language, and based off our Levush. So what happens is that we become Shalem through, we become Yashar. Yashar is Yud, Yediyah, Shin is Shmiya, Reish is Re'iyah. I become aligned, I'm present in the moment. Yashar, and that's how I become more Shalem. So I have to metaken my midos. If the levush is not matching the lashon and the being meishach, the Or Elyon, that avodas Hashem. That's tikkun hamidos.
Can one be a revelation to someone who only works in Tikkun Midos his whole life and never davens?
So there's an element. There's an element. Everybody on a certain respect on whatever level is a merkava. However, we believe and we want to be a merkava that there's through HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Through HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the whole pasuk in Devarim. Kaitzi. What does it say? It says that I shouldn't say it's from me. Famous pasuk, everyone quotes that. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, what's the next pasuk? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me chayil. That I'm the levush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me the strength. So to say everything is from me without HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a no-no. But to say everything is from me because I take my koichas hanefesh and I'm thinking about Hashem, I want to megala Hashem, it's Hashem is Baruch Hu gives me chayil. Look at the pshat of the pasuk in Devarim. The pshat of the pasuk, I shouldn't say it's from my hands. But what it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me the koyach, and from that koyach, there's chayil. There's life.
Can one have Tikkun Midos without including Hashem? Without being humble?
So there is such an element, but it's very krum. It's very krum because depending on what your level of hashkafa is the quality of your actions. We have Torah that guides us. Torah guides our thinking. Ein Sof guides our thinking, and then again, straight tikkun hamidos can lead a person to do odd things. A person who is not living with higher values, they can do in the name of tikkun hamidos odd things. Yes, this is not necessarily the best. You've only got what society tells you to do or what your imagination conjures up. So Tikkun Amidos without Hashem can be very, very dangerous.
Without Hashem or without a guide?
Without Hashem, without guidance, can be very dangerous. People come up.
Without Hashem.
People come up. Morality. Look at the Nazis. Look at the Nazis. I can assure you, though, a lot of Nazis who are mamash l'shem shamayim. Kiviyachal, you know what I'm saying. They believe they're doing the right moral thing. So, like, you look at the terrorists. They believe, not going into it now, but they believe they're doing the right thing. So it's dangerous. We should have, and by the Goyim, we know they should have a beis din. They should have a beis din. Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach. Why? To create an aligning process. Let's get into the text. Okay. 21 or the title is A Life Lived from Das, Beseder. So the more we function from this place, the more divine light can flow through us. What is beyond Das? A more palpable experience of divine intelligence. Through being in and living from a state of Das, we can start to be in touch with our neshama, communicating to us through the baskol. This is the process of becoming an Adam Yashar, an aligned being that is good for all of us. So this Nakuda, as we said, the moment I become more present, which is our starting place, I can start to hear the internal voices. We know, we've quoted Rabbi Nachman, that when a person does his Boidudus and they hear that voice within, that's Ruach HaKodesh Mamash, that's Elokus Mamash, as Rabbi Nachman says. So we internally quieten down, we can start to experience what we call Hasaga. We develop and we can hear Hashem's Ratzon. We can connect to it. When people are living from this quiet consciousness, they describe an increasing experience of the following qualities. They experience clarity, joy, and elegance, stability, subtlety, dynamic, peace, intelligence, joy, happiness, resilience, creativity, bliss, and so much more. The more one lives from a place of Das, the more these experiences expand throughout every area of one's life. Those who cultivate Das in their lives seem to have a natural shine, as it says, Chochmas Adam Ta'ir Panav. When we cultivate a life tethered to this place, we can call it becoming and being enlightened. Being enlightened. And the word, again, enlightened is Chochmas Adam Pir. No?
Chochmas Adam Ta'ir Panav.
Thank you. And Chochmas Techiyeh gives a life. You feel different, you live differently when living from this place. And people have experienced this. Everyone has had a moment of clarity. Everybody has had a moment of clarity. It's the natural way that we work. The question is, were we guided into it to open it up and experience it more? That's the question. And we can have these conversations to retether us to Tzelem Elokim, to experience it more. Yes?
When you're aligned, the result is tikkun amidos. Meaning, it's not that you have to work on your midos. It's if you work on being in the right space of das, the automatic way you show up in the world.
There is an element of that, but not always. So when we are becoming more baldas, we still have to work on our midos. Say, for example, somebody becomes aware that they are angry. If they don't spend time reprogramming that they can become calmer, or they can relate and react to the situation in a different way. So they could be aware that they're angry.
That's on a very behavioral level, but the other way that I think that you could work is, if you're angry, your anger is a reflection back to yourself that something is
off
in your grasp of the situation, and you're, let's say, shooting a messenger instead of realizing where it's coming from. And the second you realign yourself that it's not about this person, it's about what I need to go through for my journey in life, then automatically...
So there is that. I wouldn't say it's automatic though. There is that. You're not wrong. We're saying the same thing. But there is a down-up and an up-down. The more you become more aligned, it's called Hachnan Havdalah, Keta Shem Tov Kaf Chet Bet. The more you become more aligned, Hachnan Havdalah, there's a natural Hamtaka. But as well, there is a reality check where your nefesh is very stubborn. So the Nakuda of Tikkun Hamidais, what we're saying here is my end goal is to be a Kli to Megale HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. What do I need to clean in order to help that? I need to clean the lens of my nefesh. I need to clean the lens of my nefesh. How do I clean the lens of my nefesh? By building a relationship with my nefesh. How do I build a relationship with my nefesh? Through being in das, through being settled, through being in das, through observing, and having the ability to have conversations with the different parts of me within, and to, so to speak, work on that. And all at the same time, I'm in touch with divine intelligence. I'm in touch with DI, divine intelligence, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with Ein Sof. And that's guiding me. But we can't take away from the fact that there is a truth to what you're saying. The more I align, yes, there will be a change. But again, it's not black and white. I as well need to do conscious work. I need to do conscious work.
I find that with this line, I find that when I am living from this quiet consciousness, the way I show up in the world is aligned with the truth of Hashem's vidos. And when I don't show up in the world like that, when I show up in the world
But
not
what?
aligned with Hashem's vidos,
Again, you're not wrong, but again, black and white thinking, you're not wrong. But what happens if you're very present, but your nefesh takes over, or a person's nefesh takes over, and they get very angry?
So to me, that signals to me that I'm not very aligned, and I need to get aligned.
So how do you get aligned?
For me, I don't know, like that's why I'm asking, like, if I would just control myself, that's not aligning myself, that's staying with the
But we're not
same
saying control. Tikkun Hamidos isn't controlling.
So what?
Tikkun Hamidos is consciously, deliberately working on your midos.
Meaning?
It could be a number of things. It could be journaling. It could be going to therapy.
So you're
It
really
could.
not working on the midos, you're working on aligning.
You're working on your midos. You're clearing the lens of the nefesh. It sounds like that there needs to be at some point a definition of what Tikkun Hamidos is. I'm not sure where you're coming from with the language. What's bothering you with Tikkun Hamidos?
I think that it's more that the concept that I've always understood for Tikkun Amidos is to control yourself.
So it's Tikkun Hamidos can include control, but we've said, for example, especially in The Journey Begins, it's relationship based more than control. There is an element of control, but you can't come and control without being in relationship. So there's again, a person could sit on a tree, a person could sit on a mountain and meditate and develop very, very high levels of consciousness and alignment. But then when they meet something, there's a part in us that can be brought up. That part in us needs to be what we call sweetened, beautified, metaken. So that takes effort.
I agree it takes effort. My question is, what is the effort?
The effort could be journaling, the effort could be therapy, the effort could be learning Musa Sfarim.
Those don't translate to me into Tikkun Amidos. Those translate to me into aligning myself with
So it's language. But the nakuda of learning Musa, the nakuda of journaling, the nakuda of going to a chabura, the nakuda of consciously, deliberately practicing a particular midah every single day is considered...
into living from the quiet consciousness. Those
No, it's not though. It isn't though. Because I may not be quiet inside, but I could still practice deliberately a midah. I may not. This is what we said about Yishuv Hadas and Menuchas HaNefesh are not one and the same. They're not one and the same.
I can still be in a chaotic place inside and act as if I'm in a quiet
Correct. Well, not quiet consciousness, but I can act from a chaotic place inside and still act differently.
Than the chaotic place inside.
Correct, because I'm tapping into another part within me that can override and recognize, I know that you're really angry inside right now. However, I can't take it out on this person.
So you're living from the other place. You're acting from the other place. You have the chaotic.
Correct. Yeah, and then what we want to do is the more that we are called being metaken al midos, that place which originally can be noisy, I can talk to it and I can do the work. That work's called Tikkun Hamidos. When I'm doing that work, that voice will quieten down. And that revelation will be a fuller, healthier, more expanded revelation because I'm now not hindered by that voice. And I've worked on another midah and that's louder. So, one second, sorry, yes.
So Musar, Cheshbon Nefesh, behavior, ramifications, therapy, journaling, so that's all what they're all called down up?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's nefesh.
there's
Devoted to nefesh.
correct. There's two different. You've got down up in the world of Kabbalah. You've got Kesser down to Malchus, Malchus up to Kesser. You've got two different ways of working: Or Chayzer and Or Yashar, Rotza v'Shov. You've got these different dynamics that are going on. It's not a still
It's like
process.
Risos Sharm is down.
Correct. On a basic level, yes. Yeah. But what we're trying to share here is it's not black and white. We need always to do the work, and there needs to be a balancing act of becoming more in a state of das, but then consciously, deliberately working on particular midos, whether it's the midah of simcha. So we call that in the world of Musa, hislavus. Hislavus. I choose deliberately to become more excited. So remember the sentence, whatever you feed becomes stronger. Whatever is louder grabs your attention. There's another way of saying this, fake it until you make it. Really, there's no faking it because your mind doesn't know the difference. Mirror neurons, your mind doesn't know the difference. Emotions don't necessarily know the difference inside once you have triggered a particular emotion. But you may feel inside to validate what you're saying. You will feel inside, and it can at times be a battle, and you have to know yourself. It's not black and white. You have to know yourself. So sometimes you have to allow emotion, after you've tried to change it, to basically find its way out. And we have avodas for that as well. Avoda, the nakuda of avoda. So whether it's the avoda from Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Shapira, where you sit and you repeat Slicha, Mechila, Hakar Satov and Ava. Slicha, Mechila, Hakar Satov and Ava. And you allow up, any particular midah. I'm sorry, and you just speak to it. I'm sorry, and I forgive you, and I see the good in you. And I love you. You allow that up. It's an energy. And behind that midah, that energy just needs to be allowed to run its course. That would be down, up. This is what the Baal Shem Tov calls the tikkun of foreign thinking. That you would allow this midah up and out. Up, through, and out. You would meet it. And you would be in a state of das where you can hold it to allow out to mitigate it. But then you have moments where it's devakus, where there's a light that comes down, and that light is so strong, it could just mamish melt away any negative midah. So there's down, up, and up, down. It's not black and white. Rotza v'shav.
What the avoda is Slicha, Mechila,
Hakar Satov and Ahava. There was a tzaddik, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Shapira.
And yes, it's written somewhere?
Yeah, it's written down. Okay, it's written down, yeah. So that would be called Tikkun Hamidos. So I mentioned this right at the beginning, and it's important to iterate it again. We can get stuck on language. And it's very important to realize just to hear the ideas. And to play with the ideas. And when we are speaking about language, it's to quickly get over the fact that definitions haven't been explained, and we want to speak about the ideas. So I'm trying to speak about the ideas more than the languages that we are using, the words and definitions that we are using.
And the definition aspect, does Tikkun Amidos, is it the process or is it the result?
Both. Tikkun Amidos is the process and the result. But again, our goal is to be a kli to Megala Hashem in the world. And the only way, really, in a pure way, you can do that is through Tikkun Hamidos. And Tikkun Hamidos is to do with the nefesh, cheshbon ha-nefesh, menuchas ha-nefesh. We have all of these words. And what we want to understand is, the more I can deliberately become a conscious practitioner of what we call Tikkun Hamidos, the more I could become a conscious practitioner of Devekus, Emunah, and Bitachon. Devekus is Neshama, Ruach is to do with Emunah, and the world of Bitachon is to do with the Nefesh. The more I can create this alignment process, the more I become Yashar. The more I can Megala in a clean way Hashem's light in the world through my Koichas HaNefesh. And that's the uniqueness, that you are special. It's not an akudah of gaiva, it's an akudah of the realization that you are a nitzais, you are a spark that's never been around before to shine out the light that you have to shine out.
When you fake it, faking happy, so what part of me knows that it's not true? The part of it,
your nefesh part, which is the biggest battle.
the nefesh knows it's not true.
The nefesh, again, within the nefesh, you have myriads of personalities. You have myriads and myriads of personalities. Within the nefesh, you can have a part of you that was, so to speak, age 4 stunt. And then there's another part of you which is age 40 and very mature. And another part of you which is at this age. And another part of you which is at that age. And what we need to do is speak to all these different parts. As Rabbi Nachman says, we spoke about this, as Rabbi Nachman in Likutei Maran, and as well as the V'Teplikner explains, that we can speak to our body parts.
So
Speaking to our body parts is having the ability to process and have conversations to the world within us. And in his Baidadus, there's a Messiah in his Baidadus from Rabbi Yosef Weingott, from Rav Weingott, who we heard from Rav Avram Steinhartz. In his Baidadus, you want to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but in his Baidadus as well, you want to speak to all of those different parts within you. He said, Taiva, what's going on? What do you really want? Or hand, what do you really want? You'd speak to the different body parts, or you'd speak to the different personalities that come up within you, and you'd build a relationship with them.
who's speaking?
Das
speaking.
would build a relationship with the parts in the nefesh, and the nefesh typically will speak. And what you can do, again, weird if you've never heard it before, you can stop for a moment and see if an insight comes in. An insight, some sort of hasaga comes in. Okay. So that's neshama.
So Das is telling, let's say they're happy. Das is telling, act happy, be happy. That's one part of the nefesh is acting happy, being happy, but another part of the nefesh is in denial.
Because you may have a voice within you, that says, this is so false.
So both of those are in the nefesh.
Correct. Cynicism, criticism,
The Das is
skepticism,
telling you to
and
do.
the das is trying to work and guide. So when a voice comes up, this is the journey begins. When a voice comes up, and that voice is, you can choose to ignore or explore that voice. Remember we spoke about that, where you could choose to ignore or explore. You don't have to follow through with that voice that comes up. So this is this nakuda that we're speaking about. And again, the conversation that we're having now is such an important conversation, because in here, in the words on the page, we are further ahead than the experience. We're further ahead than the experience. So ultimately, what I would say to you is go pick up the Journey Begins. This is all in the Journey Begins. And what is happening in real time, I know you've read the Journey Begins. So now what am I meant to do? I know you've read the Journey Begins. You hear this is Avodas Hashem. I know you've read it. So I could say, come on, you should know this already. This is silly. I'm trying to get further ahead here. You should know this. We've gone through this. But that's not the way we work. That's not the way we work. This is the way we work. We have these conversations and we bring up. And then what starts to happen is you chap, look at that. Or it leads you to a clearer question to ask. Look at that. And then when that happens, this starts to fit in more and more. It's compounded. It's not black and white, it's compounded. Layers. And language, like the big thing that we have to deal with is language. And like the Rebbetzin was saying, is that you could be brought up your whole life, and she said this, you could be brought up your whole life, you hear an idea a certain way, and then we're coming to ask questions and try to play with it in another way. And sometimes it's straightforward, sometimes there's a challenge, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and that's part of the journey. And at the end of the day, I still believe we're saying the same thing using different language. I have to learn to hear and figure out how to communicate in my language. But, it goes both ways. It's not black and white. It's rutz of a shov. It's rutz of a shov, and it takes time. And that's why, just to reiterate, that's why this what we're doing here is it's complicated. It's not a share where you have a binyan, one by one, you have a binyan. There's an aspect of binyan in this share. This is an aspect of binyan. This is Maisa Bereshis. This is an aspect of binyan. This is an aspect of taking words on a page and showing something sequential and logical. Yet, on the other side of the coin, there's Maisa Merkava. Maisa Merkava is where we're speaking about the human experience. We're speaking about language. We're navigating beliefs. So it all works. It all works. This is the process that we sometimes can find annoying is the process of Tikkun Amidos. This is it. This is it. It's
I
the.
find it annoying.
Sometimes we could find it annoying. Sometimes
You're learning these big things, and then
and it's two things. Number one, if a person feels they've chapped, they will listen again and say, "We've spoken about. What the heck do you want from me? We've spoken about this 10 times." And then you have this other side where, one minute, what's that? What's going on here? It's completely over my head and I've completely missed it. We're in a very difficult position here, hybrid position, where we're speaking Maisa Merkava and Maisa Bereshis. It's not easy, but again, if we believe that we have to take our next shift in human evolution, everything that we are sharing here is a tefillah for Am Yisrael. Everything that we are sharing here is a tefillah for Am Yisrael. It's a tefillah for Am Yisrael. And this is, in our generation, what we need. We have to be patient and we have to work out the knetches in language. And I believe a lot of the time we all are saying the same thing. We all are wanting the same thing. And the language we're using sometimes has a mismatch because we are processing from what I learned. And I have to change the way I think. I have to change. Oh, look at that. I use mashalim, which are coming from my way of life. And then a few months ago, we had a conversation where you're 100% right. I'm stuck on a certain moshel where when the Rebbetzin asks something, it's like, oh wow, I was too stuck and too narrow in my presentation of it. I have to take that into consideration. But that's the story, that's the nature of life. And that's how we shift Das and Tikkun Hamidais, working to create more of a Devekus and an alignment. And it's real. And that's as well why I say, constantly, it's not an equation. It's not an equation. There's an equational aspect to it because there's an architecture to the soul. But what we have said time and time again, there's an architecture to the soul, but then you've got human experience. Human experience is very complex, especially if a person's in it. If a person's in a matzav, all you can do is hold that person barachamim, in the rechem, in a space. And you wouldn't say, oh, you're relating to your thoughts and feelings and physical sensations in the present moment. How disgusting would that be? That would be really difficult. That would be very difficult. Sometimes you just have to let the narrative work its way through, which is part of Tikkun Nitzosos Kedusha.
in terms of the self, though, there's a process. There's the process of tikkun amidos, davening, reminding
So
ourselves
again, listen. That we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing.
But it is.
Which what?
It is an equation.
Again, there's an
It's a
aspect.
confusing
There's an
equation.
aspect of an equation. So it's not a confusing equation. It isn't.
The equation itself is simple. But
The equation
process of
itself.
actually
So
getting to
that's your subjective experience. Do we belittle it or do we take it seriously?
take it seriously.
If a person's working on themselves, we take it seriously. Kapshutai. There's times where if you know somebody, you can push and not take it seriously. But a lot of the time, we take the human experience very seriously. In Torah, it's expected of us. That's Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim. There's a very Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim. The Rob Shitzer, who Zera Kodesh is very much about this. Is the Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim active or is it passive? Are you in a position where when somebody reacts a certain way, you react with Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim? Or is it something that you're active with? You hear the diuk? The Rob Shitzer asks this question. What's Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim? Hashem El Racham V'Chanun Erech Hapayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emes. What does that sound like? Somebody did something, someone did something, and now you are reacting to the matzav. Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim. Hashem El Racham V'Chanun. Hashem loved me the same before the Aveira, like Hashem loves me after the Aveira. So it sounds like it's reactive.
That's not reactive. Hashem loved me the same before as after.
So that's the knetch. Hashem El Racham V'Chanun, it's a difficult matzav because you're bridging two worlds. The moment you bridge those two worlds, it becomes very complicated if we don't take time to pick it apart. And here what we are trying to do is pick it apart. We're trying to make Seder. There is an architecture of the soul and there's human experience. And again, even as I'm saying this, how many times have I said that? But maybe you're hearing it slightly differently now. Human experience is very, very complex. You yourself know this. The architecture of the soul is very straightforward. You can share it. So, Tachlis, probably in a Chabura setting within a few weeks, the basic ideas are already known cerebrally. But the experience of it already is a different conversation. What we are working on doing here, bringing both together closer and closer and closer. And when we bring it closer and closer, that's when we come to this high level of tikkun. We've got Olam HaNeshamos and Olam Hazeh. And our whole goal of Bir Netzosis Kedusha is bringing the Olam HaNeshamos and the Olam Hazeh until they become Echad. We are the Schneiders, we are sewing two worlds together, and then we experience Olam Haba. Shashuim Olam Haba, what Rabbi Nachman is saying, and Ratza V'Shov, is this nakuda of having the ability to hold both worlds. Having the ability to very, very seamlessly and quickly shift between architecture of the soul and human experience. Architecture of the soul and human experience. And it's not easy. And it takes conversations that it sounds like, 1 minute, you've said those words before. We gave a whole Hagdama last week, and it was just an Hagdama. The more that we function from this place, divine light can flow through us. This picture, hopefully, at least cerebrally, makes it a little bit more cognitively pleasing. But then we read it in the words, we've got something to hold. And these conversations that we're having, that it seems to be we've had before. But that's the nature of life. Maisa Merkava and Maisa Bereshis coming closer and closer together. I'm just going to read through this quickly again and move on to the next the next paragraph. And then we're going to break up and share Be'ezras Hashem. So when people are living from this quiet consciousness, they describe as an increasing experience of the following qualities: clarity, love, elegance, subtlety, sustainability, dynamic peace, intelligence, joy, happiness, resilience, creativity, bliss, and so much more. The more one lives from this place of Das, the more these experiences expand throughout every area of our life. Because a change anywhere, my dear friends, a change anywhere is a change everywhere. Those who cultivate Das in their lives seem to have more of a natural shine, as it says, Chochmas Adam Ta'ir Panav in Koheles 8:1. When we cultivate a life threaded to this place, we can call it becoming more enlightened, being an enlightened being. And again, Chochmas Techiyah, it gives us life. We live from a much deeper place. Additionally, a side effect of living from this place is that negativity starts to recede. There is a natural hamtaka that starts to take place. There is a natural hamtaka. Again, we want to work on it. So we want to work on our midos. We want to clean those lenses. We want to remember whatever we feed becomes stronger. Whatever is louder grabs our attention. So additionally, a side effect from living from this place is that negativity starts to recede. We start to experience less stress and anxiety, less lust, toxic shame, depression, sorrow, and hate and fear. These negative states of being can't exist in the light of truth, of true consciousness. Because the light that flows through the soul from the Baira Aylam is far more powerful than any of these negative energies. When we allow Ein Sof to flood our consciousness, when every fiber of our being absorbs and submits to divine will, then our being is saturated with Hashem's light. Every cell of our body is saturated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. Every cell of our body, one of my teachers would say that every cell of our body is giggling and smiling. They're shaking. They're so excited. Every cell of your body is excited with life, animated, besimcha with life on a cellular level. So then our being is saturated with Hashem's light. A person in Das, when you are allowing Hashem's through, yeah, every cell in your body is saturated with simcha, with positivity, with ava, with seeing the Nakuda Taiva. There's no such thing as anything else. Then our being is saturated with Hashem's light, and life is experienced completely differently. We enter a Meichin de Gadlus, a redemption mindset. A redemption mindset. And this Nakuda, beautiful friends, this Nakuda is a very, very important Nakuda, as well as we're saying, to do with Hanukkah. Very, very important to do with Hanukkah. And the Nakuda is, we can give ourselves all a bracha, that we can at least cerebrally know that I'm here to be a kli to Megala Hashem's good, loving, warm, wonderful, wondrous light in the world. And as I live that, as I start to awaken more and more, that my life, Be'ezras Hashem, through what we're sharing, through working on ourselves, becomes better, becomes stronger, healthier, more resilient. And Tachlis is we can shift from exile within exile to redemption within exile, and then the more individuals awaken. And Baruch Hashem, there are a lot of people, and hopefully even more, then we move into redemption within redemption. And at this point in time, as we've said, we're in exile within redemption. And we just have to sit by the Neres Chanukah and remember the goal. Remember, in the darkness, there's that light. That light is you. You are the Kli. You are the Kli that's Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. So Be'ezras Hashem, we should have bracha, mazel and hatzlacha, much love, much respect, goodness to everybody. Be'ava, be'yira, be'kavod rabbah. May we all go always from strength to strength. L'chaim tovim u'l'shalom. As normal, what we will do is break up into our groups. And for you, Chevra, online, just take a moment. What have you heard? What did you hear? How can it benefit you? Don't try so hard. Don't try so hard. Allow it to wash over you. And walk away with something that's going to help you feel more proud, more healthy, in a kasha and yasha way. L'chaim tovim u'l'shalom.